Well, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, Welcome to the latest in our Church Facility Management Solutions webinars. Today is on Roofing 101. What does it take? My name is Nathan Parr, again, a facility specialist with Cool Solutions Group. I am glad to have you here with us today. Those of you who are live or those who may listen to the recording later, welcome. Glad you are here. Thanks for tuning in. Um, we have as our featured speaker today, Miss Monica Keels from Chamberlain. And Monica, I just want to throw it over to you and give you the opportunity to say hello to everybody and tell us a little bit about Chamberlain. And guys, while we're doing that, I'm going to throw a poll up for you because I'd like you to fill out a poll while Monica introduces herself. So Monica, please take it away.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nathan. Well, my name is Monica Keels. I've been with Chamberlain. I'll be right at about 15 years here in a couple of months. Um, Happened onto the roofing and waterproofing industry by luck somehow. But I'm a native Texan, born and raised in Houston. My dad is a pipe fitter, so I think I have some of this construction stuff kind of running through my blood as it is. But to tell you a little bit about Chamberlain, in a nutshell, Chamberlain is a building envelope contractor, which means we keep water out of the entire building. So think vertical walls, windows, below grade, the roof. Any system that is designed to keep water out of a building, we install when it's newly constructed, we install that and then maintain that through the life of the building. So in some ways, we're with the building from cradle to grave, from when it's newly constructed, maintaining it throughout its life until it's no longer with us. So roofing and sheet metal, waterproofing and caulking, building exterior restoration, which includes masonry, garage restoration, and then preventative maintenance. That's what we do.
Awesome. So today's focus is primarily, well, not primarily, it's on roofs, but keep in
Mm-hmm.
mind as we go through, and if y'all have any questions, feel free to submit those questions via the question pane. We'll ask them either live or we'll give you a response. Um, and we want to hear your questions. We're talking about roofs today, but if there's some other, maybe some envelope questions or stuff, and if we don't know the answer, we'll certainly find out and we can certainly get you that answer later. So I'm going to give you all just a few more seconds to send our responses, and then we'll go ahead and kick off the rest of this deal. So I
Yeah.
am closing it, and just so we can get an idea before we jump into the roof systems, here's our audience, and this is the roofs that we all have. About 8% of us don't know. Fair enough. Biggest number, 62% are looking at shingle. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
then we've got asphalt base, the built up, the modified bitumen, or other types. Sheet metal, and then single ply. Not a whole single ply out there. I was expecting to see more of that, but maybe some of that 8% is some of that single ply too. So there we go. That's it. That's what we got. So guys, hang on tight because we're about to talk about all the different types and then get into the maintenance. So we'll just go right into the presentation. So when we talk about roof systems, Monica, what are we talking about?
Well, today we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about flat roof systems and some sheet metal as well. So when you have, of course, roof systems are more than just shingles, but I know so many facilities have shingles as part of their roof makeup. They might have shingles and a flat roof and metal, or all kinds of combinations. So pretty much what we're going to be talking about today is asphalt based roof systems, single ply, and sheet metal roof systems. What are they? How are they used? How to maintain them? Why we should maintain them? So, your asphalt based systems, which had a pretty high percentage on our poll, those would be like your built up roof systems. So, if your building is like maybe 20, at least 20 or 30 years old, you might have an old built up roof with that rock surface on top. It's a multiple ply system. You kind of see a rendering of a built up roof right here on our screen. It's the one that's sort of the bottom left photo there. You see it has multiple plies with rock on top, and that rock protects the that top membrane from UV rays, degrading it. That's why they last so long. It's a good roof system. Since then, built-up roofs have changed over time to something that's a little less labor-intensive to install, and that's a modified bitumen roof system, which you see the picture above the built-up roof. It's sort of that gray surface, and you see the plies, the lines in between the rolls there that are rolled out and installed. And that's also a multiple layer. It's put down with asphalt. It could be a cold applied system or a hot applied system. And it just depends on where it's being installed. Is that roof being installed in a very dense area, like in a downtown type area, or perhaps on a hospital? And if they don't want to expose the people around the area to fumes, that facility owner or manager might choose a cold applied modified bitumen roof system rather than a hot applied, which means heating up that asphalt, which creates that smell that I remember from elementary school whenever the roof was being replaced on my school as a kid. And then you have your single ply, which is becoming more prevalent in the marketplace, even though it wasn't very prevalent in our poll, because it's a little less expensive to install. Um, it's not as labor intensive, quicker to go down, easy to repair and maintain. And then your sheet metal systems, which last a very long time, decorative, nice looking. Um, so yeah, those are going to be the main systems that we're talking about today.
Okay. And even though we're not, excuse me, we're not focusing on shingles, even though a lot of people have them, a lot of the things we're talking about apply in terms of maintaining and how to inspect them, correct?
Certainly. Oh yeah,
Okay. Okay.
definitely.
All right. So as we move on, let's look at, since we're looking at roofings, let's look at some of the pros and cons of the different types. So we'll just jump right in
Right.
talking about asphalt based.
Certainly. People ask me all the time, what type of roof system should I install on my roof? And really, there's not one answer for every situation. It really depends on the building type, the building use, is there equipment on the roof, the area that it's located at. It all really depends on those things. So, but to give you the pros and cons of an asphalt-based system, the built-up roof, though it's not as prevalent in newer buildings or when a roof is being replaced, it is a tried and true system. We still work today on built up roofs with the gravel or the rock on the top because they last so long.
Okay.
But the downside is, and the reason why a lot of facility owners aren't going back with built up roofs when it's time to replace them is because they're labor intensive. When you compare the cost of installing a built up roof compared to that of a single ply, well, for a lot of facility managers, it's a no brainer because it's not as labor intensive to install.
Right.
Um, the downside, also on the asphalt based built up roof system, specifically on the built up roof system, is that it's a little bit more difficult to repair if you have a leak coming somewhere in the field of the roof, not like on the flashings or, parapet walls where the flashing is going up the parapet wall. That's pretty easy to see. But in the field of the roof, it's covered with rock. And so it's pretty difficult to tell where there might be, a puncture would be more difficult to find under the rock to see where
Right.
that leak is coming from.
Okay.
Um, but on the modified asphalt based systems, it's those aren't as labor intensive as a built up roof. They are a little less difficult to repair, and they're becoming more prevalent on newer facilities.
Okay.
On
I
the
want
single
to,
ply side, go ahead.
can I ask, I just want to kind of ask and kind of throw this out here. When we're talking about the asphalt based, um,
Hmm.
it's many times as facility folks, we think if we got to fix it, we'll just go to the home store and pick up one of those products. But those products that you can get at a home store to fix these type roofs, it's not the same thing as what a professional certified installer is putting down. Is that correct?
That's correct. There are materials that a roofing manufacturer allow us to use on their roofs that are
Okay.
specific to that manufacturer. If it's a Firestone roof, if it's a Carlisle roof, that are specific to those things. And there is a craft to it. It's not just putting, as we call it, pookie, putting
Yeah.
some pookie around a hole. Does it need flashing? Is the insulation underneath the area, is that wet?
Right.
Well, if it is, then that can degrade the components underneath that, the deck. We've been on projects before where the insulation was so wet in such a large area that the facility manager was what they were going to have to do was replace the lightweight insulating concrete, and that is it's very, very costly to do. So you don't want to get to that point where you just let things go or let somebody on your roof to repair it who's not really qualified to do a repair.
Right.
Um,
So even
but
though it's the old tried and true method, there's still it. You got to be specific on what you use to repair it.
oh, certainly, yes.
Awesome. All right. And so single ply.
Single ply. Well, there's a lot of upsides to single ply. As I mentioned, it's not as labor intensive to install. The real upside is the energy efficiency and the solar reflectance with the white membrane that is inherent in the single ply roofing system. So, there's energy efficient opportunities, potential ROI opportunities with a single ply TPO or PVC roof membrane system. It's
Okay.
easy to repair. It holds up well to standing water, whereas an asphalt based system, not so much. If there's standing water in a place or like ponding, which can happen as the building settles over time, an asphalt-based system doesn't hold up quite as well as a single-ply membrane system does.
Okay. And I'll just throw out there for those of you listening. I actually used to install single ply roofs. Did a lot of TPOs, and uh, they're awesome. But that is definitely one that you cannot just go to the home store and get what you need to repair it. That little welding machine you see in that picture, that's thousands of dollars, and it really takes someone who's been trained to do it, how to fix it right. Especially when you look at the accessories and how you mold them and weld them down and all that fun stuff. So they're awesome roofs, but that's one for sure that if you ever have an issue, you need to call someone who's certified by the manufacturer who provided the material.
Hmm.
Just as an aside, you don't want a non-certified repair person on your roof.
Exactly. And if you have your warranty documents, you can contact your manufacturer, and they'll put you in contact with either the company that installed that roof because they have those records, or somebody in your area that is certified to work on that roof.
Hmm.
I will say a big difference also between single ply and asphalt is um, single ply is that it's a single ply system, whereas asphalt has multiple plies. So the biggest thing to look out for in a single ply roof system is punctures. It's easier to puncture the single ply membrane than an asphalt based system. So you're going to want to know who's been up on your roof. If you have equipment on your roof and contractors are repairing it and they accidentally drop something, well, that can puncture the roof. So you just
All
want to
right.
be careful about those things. Add walk pads around your equipment to protect your roof. Those are really important.
Awesome. Okay. And so sheet metal.
Yeah, sheet metal. If I had my druthers, I would have a sheet metal roof on my house, but unfortunately, my HOA doesn't allow that. So until I move out into the West Texas Hill Country, I'll have to, stick with my shingle roof. But sheet metal roof systems have a long life, as we talked about one other time. That but the initial cost, installation cost of a sheet metal roof system is pretty high, but the life of the roof system is kind of what pays for that over time. But like the other roof systems we talked about, they're not. Uh, they still require ongoing maintenance. What we see a lot whenever we go to repair a metal roof is things like fasteners, fasteners wiggling themselves out due to vibration, building movement, you name it. They find a way to wiggle themselves out. And so then that creates a hole, water intrusion, you name it.
Right. And sheet metal roofs, if you've ever been on them, they can get real slick if they got any moisture. So
Hmm.
it makes it a little more difficult at times to get them up there and and inspected. But again, you're going to hear this a lot. That's why we recommend getting with a certified and qualified contractor to help take a look at those things.
Certainly.
Just
I mean, you just mentioned a really important safety concern, and I want to add on to that. We're a very safety conscious company because what we do is risky, right? We work at
right.
heights, and some metal roof systems have invisible skylights. And that's one thing that we make our people very aware of. Before you get up on the roof, take a look at the underside, especially if it's in like an open warehouse type setting. Take a look from the underside to see if there's any skylights that would be kind of invisible to you while you're on the roof. That it's not like a domed skylight. Those are easy to see. This would just be a part of the roof system itself.
Okay.
We don't want anybody falling through skylights.
Yeah, no, that ruined your day.
For sure.
So before we move on, I just want to I just sent it out to y'all, but does anybody have any specific or additional questions on some of these pros and cons on these different roofing types for us? And I'll give you just a few seconds. But and if we're talking about this and you're not sure again what type you have or what type of roof system, find out. Uh, that's something you really need to know to make sure that when you call somebody to come look at your roof, that you can make sure that they're qualified to actually do the work on your roof. Not all
Mhm.
roofers are the same. If you've got shingles in one section and single ply on another, you may have to reach out to a different contractor who can handle both, or get
Mhm.
with two different ones. So, uh,
Right. So you may not want your run of the mill residential roofing contractor working on your flat roofing system. It is a different set of expertise and craftsmanship.
okay. Um, so we got some very specific questions. One is definitely kind of outside of my knowledge base, but silicone roof coating systems. Are you
Mhm.
familiar with those? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so silicone roofing systems. There's several different type of roof coating systems out there, and they're a great way to prolong the life of your roof. And there's a gazillion manufacturers of different types of roof coatings, and they can be installed on flat roofs, on metal roofs to extend the life of both. As long as the roof is in, especially on a flat roof, as long as the components underneath that membrane are in good condition. You know, is the insulation dry? Is the deck in good condition? And you want to have like a roof core done of your roof to see, you know, is everything in good condition? Perhaps even a thermographic imaging scan done to see if there's any wet spots on the roof that need to be addressed before installing any type of coating on the roof.
Okay. Next question. Let us, hopefully that answered the question on that. So the next question is, um, if you get some condensation issues, how do you avoid getting condensation issues inside the building if you've got a single ply over a corrugated metal roof? Specifically, they saw one, they replaced an asphalt base roof with a single ply. Decking was metal, did great until they started getting condensation underneath. Is that something that can be corrected during the installation of the roof? Or is there another issue? What's your thoughts on that?
You know, I have not personally run across that. That sounds like a combination of HVAC, you know,
Yeah.
mechanical systems and roofing. So I think that's probably a little bit outside of my
Yeah.
expertise and what I would be able to answer.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, and this is Jim sent that. Jim, I'm thinking that condensation, you're just you got too much you got too much moisture in the air. So I would look at the HVAC first, but we'll also reach out to some of our other folks and see if we can come up with a different response. This one is right there. How do the repair costs for modified bitumen compare to TPO?
Repair costs for like whenever we repair modified or TPO roofs, it depends on what the repair is, but they're about the same. They're
Okay.
about the same for the most part. Like if we did a puncture repair on a based system versus a TPO, it'd be about the same because you're pretty much paying time and material. You're paying labor and a little bit of material to do those repairs.
Okay. Um, and in your opinion, when we and this is, I know this is going to be a nebulous question, and we kind of answered at the end of the presentation, but when we're looking at shingled roofs that need replacement,
Mhm.
uh, if it's affordable, is a standing seam or a sheet metal roof pretty good to consider? Is it, from a cost effective or a longevity standpoint?
Um, you know, it really depends on what your budget is. Of course, a metal roof is going to be more expensive
Hmm.
than a shingle, and you'll probably have to do some additional structure, to support the metal roof that you install. So perhaps you need a structural engineer or something like that involved as well before installing the roof. Long term sheet metal, probably is a little bit longer than your normal, 15-year shingle that
Yeah,
you
I
would get.
mean, I've seen shingles 15, 20, 25, or 30-year shingles, but properly maintained standing seam metal roofs, you're looking at 50-year plus service life.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and
I would
so,
I would think you get a lot of that. Even, coating it and making it last even longer.
right. So Chris, that's kind of our response to that. It's definitely worth to consider. It's always going to boil down
Yeah.
to the initial cost, but when you consider long term, plus the look, it's a very nice look. If it's something that
Mhm.
you can do, you're potentially putting on a 50-year plus solution for your facility. And then kind of the last little follow up before we go on to roofing problems, those silicon or those other coatings, most of them or many of them, they're designed to improve heat reflection, correct?
Yeah, some will definitely do that. And as a matter of fact, on some new construction projects, if a facility is putting down a modified roof system, they'll go ahead and coat it so that it's white and has that heat reflectance with it because they want to go ahead and get that durable system with that heat reflectance.
Okay. So, yep. And you'll see that there, if you don't have a TPO, then sometimes you've got those coatings that can try to mimic it for another system because it does reflect a lot of heat. So,
Yep.
so moving on, let's talk about potential roofing problems. Let's see.
It, if I could, Nathan, add one more thing to the
Absolutely.
question about sheet metal roofing versus shingles.
Yes.
Um, I want to add to that it is a long term solution, but the caveat is it is not maintenance free. Like any other system you have in your building, HVAC, if you have an elevator, roof system, it's not going to be maintenance free. So I don't want somebody to think, well, I've got a 50-year roof, so we're good.
Right.
That's
Every,
definitely
every,
not the case.
yeah, it's got to be maintained and all that.
Right.
Okay. So thank you all for those questions. And then again, so when we're talking about potential roofing problems, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so, we look at what causes issues right away, like the moment it happens, what wears out roofs over time, and then we'll look at some pictures of some typical everyday problems that you might see on your roof system. So, the immediate problems would be things like weather, extreme weather, high winds, hail, drenching rains. All of those can cause immediate problems, of course, on your roof. Um, what I what I think is interesting also can cause immediate issues on your roof is if equipment is added improperly. So I love this picture on the bottom right hand side of the screen. It shows a very large unit installed on a roof, and it was installed on blocks instead of on a proper curb.
Right.
And that is a sure way to
Yeah.
create some issues on your roof system. That should not be on CMU blocks. That should be on a proper curb that is the
Right.
right size for that HVAC unit.
Yeah.
So improperly added equipment can definitely cause immediate issues. Were you about to add to
Yeah.
that?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, it's one, yes, CMU is not the preferred choice for roof standoffs. But two, we get into that when we say engineered, we're really talking about a structural engineer because obviously if there wasn't an existing curb for that unit already, then there's no guarantee that the underlying structure is able to handle the added weight of that unit.
Sure.
And that's a very big, I mean, leaking becomes the least of your issues when the
Mhm.
unit falls through.
Oh,
So,
yeah. So doing the due diligence up front to make sure that you're getting a proper system that your roof can withstand, and that it's on a that you're utilizing a certified contractor on your roof to cut a hole and create a
yeah,
flashed in curb to hold that unit. Really important.
yeah,
Um, and and sometimes roofs, they just, sometimes get damaged unintentionally by people working on the roof. It happens. That's how we see a lot of punctures on roofs. Those are man-made cuts,
mhm,
holes, scrapes, those kinds of things.
yeah.
And then perhaps some unintended abuse, like what you see on the left-hand side. The picture on the bottom is actually a bullet hole through a
Oh,
roof.
wow.
So what goes up must come down. And even
Yeah,
a tiny little hole like that can create a lot of damage.
right. And especially on flat roofs and even shingled roofs, when you get a hole or when you get a spot that allows water in, it may not show up in the direct or directly underneath the hole. It will come through,
Mhm.
trickle through, hit red iron and flow to wherever to the
Mhm.
lowest point.
Yes.
So that
The
makes
path
it
of
fun to
least
find.
resistance.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, that's always a challenge, and it's always a fun one.
Okay. And so those immediate. So over
Mhm.
time, what are we looking at?
General, kind of the things that you would think of: general exposure to the elements. UV rays really degrade a roof system over time. That's why those built-up roofs had rock on their roof system to protect that membrane from the UV rays. If you live in or if your building is in an area where it's perhaps a petrochemical area, or you have other things in the air, if you have a metal roof, that those chemicals can create oxidation on the roof over time. So just, general exposure can wear out a roof over time.
Okay.
Biological growth is, I would think, that would be accidental, unless you purposefully wanted to have a green roof, which they're wonderful. But the picture here on the left, that was created by standing water and birds flying over, and then out
Oh,
popped some little trees and grass and different things like that.
nice. And obviously, that particular space was not inspected regularly for it to seed and sprout that well. It's a lot of dirt on that roof as well.
Yes, a lot of dirt and probably granular buildup as well.
Okay.
Becomes a little bed for that stuff to start growing in.
Okay.
And then not addressing issues in a timely manner. Of course, that will definitely wear out the roof system over time.
Right. And I think in one of the writings I've put out before, and we've kind of said it before, and Monica, I think you and I have talked about it. But by the time the water has made it inside, the issue is a lot farther than it should have been. So
Mhm.
that just because the water comes in on the inside, that doesn't mean that was the first moment that you had an issue. It's probably been there for a while, and that
Right.
will. I'm foreshadowing. I'm being really blunt about it. I'm foreshadowing when we talk about preventative maintenance. So, uh,
Yeah.
and so
Well, and
every
it's
day. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. I was going to say, the roof system for most of us is out of sight, out of mind until there's a problem. And
Right.
that's kind of how I define what our waterproofing business is. Is waterproofing is all the things that you don't even know that's there until it's not working.
Right.
Um, and so for a lot of folks, the roof, we don't get on the roof on a regular basis. It's high or for whatever reason, and if it's broke, well then don't fix it, right?
Right.
Um, so we'll talk about that a little bit more. But whenever we do get on roofs and we survey roofs, these are kind of some of the everyday problems that we come across, and you'll see these on aging roofs or even on newer roofs. So Exposed felts. That's the picture in the on the top row on the left hand side, far left side. That kind of, if you see exposed felts, that reinforcing membrane felt right beneath the membrane, then your roof is probably getting close to its life. But those things can be repaired. Splits, cuts, punctures, ponding areas, those are everyday problems that need to be addressed. Blisters can happen over time if there was any type of moisture trapped under the membrane and it's heated up in the on a hot summer day and creates that gas, and then you have a blister like what's shown on the far right hand photo.
Okay.
Expansion joints, those are things that need to be uh, maintained on a regular basis, as well as penetration or pitch pans. So if you have like any conduit going through the roof, or any type of equipment that is penetrating the roof, then there is a sealant that's poured around that and it's held in, and that's called a pitch pan. And that's just to the right of that clogged drain.
Yeah.
um, so if you do anything, if there's like one thing that you do on your roof, I beg you, please clean your drains, so that the water can flow freely to those drains and not stand on the roof system.
Well, and speaking of that, we've got a very specific question regarding roof drains. Um,
Okay.
had a facility here that had several installed, about 12 3-inch drains in the roof. They've got the metal caps.
Mhm.
The plumber told them to put screening over the caps to limit the size of the debris coming through the pipes. However, the roofer said take the screens off. So I guess kind of the question is kind of your thoughts. Um, when an engineer puts in a roof and they specify those roof drains and the roof caps, um, that's it. That's pretty much the appropriate size and how much water flow they're expecting to get off the roof. Correct?
I mean, yeah, I would think so. It's standard operating procedure for us to put screens over the drains like what you see in this photo.
But
Um,
not additional um, finer screens. And Jim, help me out here if I'm not understanding your question, but it sounds like you have those metal screens over the drains, and the plumber said
mhm,
put an additional one over that,
mm,
finer.
mhm.
Um, I would be hesitant on that personally,
I would too. Yeah.
um, because a properly engineered roof and you've got those drains. It's designed for water, a certain amount of water flow. Um, Otherwise, if you restrict the water flow, you can increase the likelihood of having ponding
Mhm.
or standing water on those roofs. Um, and the piping should be able to handle that, the small debris that could get through with a standard metal roof drain cap like that.
Mhm. I
Um,
wonder if the roof in question, if it's a built up roof with gravel on top, and if that could be why the plumber suggested that.
it's a single ply.
Um, it's a single ply. Then no,
Yeah.
yeah, that doesn't sound necessary.
Yeah, I would be nervous, Jim. I think we both, Monica and I, would be a little nervous of messing with that because those size of that gaps in that roof drain screen, a properly manufactured one or one provided by a roofing manufacturer is the right size to handle the water flow while keeping the major debris that would clog the pipes out. So that's our public service announcement for the day. Hope that helped, Jim. Okay. So this is what we've been talking about. So Monica, what are we kind of focused on for this next section?
Yeah, so proactive. Being proactive is the opposite of being reactive, right? And it's kind of in our nature to react to the issues that are happening in life or in our buildings. And the purpose of being proactive is to help minimize those problems that might occur on the roof because of defects. Because the idea is to catch those defects before they become larger and more costly to repair, which in the end helps to achieve a a longer life of the roof system in the long run just by doing a few things to be proactive to maintain the roof system.
Okay. And so that leads us into, as we go on, so we say proactive, we kind of say roof life, but what are we really talking about?
Well, I mean, you know the roof is expensive to replace, right? It is a large capital investment. And if you're talking about nonprofits, do you have to do a capital fundraising campaign to replace the roof, or something that can be rather painful like that? Um, Whereas a proactive program would help put off that large capital investment as long as possible by doing small things in advance,
Right.
in before problems arise. So that's one reason to be proactive is because the roof is expensive to replace. We know that. Also, being proactive is if you have a warranty on your roof system, it's actually required by your manufacturer. Um, they don't always attach page 2 to their warranty documents, but if you go online to your manufacturer's website, they will have on there their care and maintenance guide for their
Okay.
roof systems, and it will talk about, the need for uh, regular roof surveys, preventive maintenance, and keeping records of those things.
Okay.
So, moving on, there are hidden costs to roof leaks. There are hidden costs to the reactive approach to roof leaks. Not only is the roof being damaged, but the interior space could be damaged, sheetrock, carpet, you name it.
Right.
Might lose the use of a space because of a leak. Perhaps um, slip fall claims. Heaven forbid something like that happen. Tenant complaints, member complaints, environmental issues like that awful 4-letter word called
Yeah.
mold.
Ooh, we don't
And
want to hear that word.
no, I know it's everybody's least favorite word. And then perhaps premature roof failure. That's the major hidden cost of roof leaks. If all of those components under that top membrane have degraded over time because of roof leaks, of ongoing roof leaks.
Yeah, and that, I mean, that those those costs that we just talked about, that's something that if, as you're looking at developing a program or doing a program, sometimes it might be difficult for a building committee to understand why you want to spend some money when they don't have an active leak in the building. So it's really important for everyone to remember those and to be able to talk about those as well, because again, we're not just the failure of a roof is not just a roof issue. It impacts everything below it. So I just encourage you to keep that in mind when you're talking and working through developing your programs and things like that. Wanted to throw that
You
out
know,
there.
yeah, I liken it to changing the oil in your car. If I want my Toyota to last 250,000 miles, well, I'm going to have to change the oil. I'm going to have to change the tires. It's part of that routine maintenance if I want to get the longest life possible out of my vehicle. Well, the
Hmm.
same goes for the roof. And the manufacturer actually expects you to do your part to maintain the roof system, and then they'll do their part with the warranty. But the
Nice.
upside is that the National Roofing Contractors Association actually performed a study, and they showed in that study that with preventive care and maintenance, surveying your roof, being proactive in maintaining the roof system can increase the roof life by 30%. So let's say you have a 20-year roof system on your building, then that's a potential, 6 additional years that you can put off that capital investment on the roof.
Yeah. And I just want to ask a quick question to everybody. Uh, do you have a preventative maintenance program? And we're not talking, and I didn't clarify, it's not just a preventative maintenance overall. Do you have a roof preventative maintenance program? Because as we've been talking and as Monica has been explaining, roofs are specialized. I think that's a pretty fair statement. Um, Certified and trained how to work, operate, and deal with a roof is a necessity. And so when we talk preventative maintenance, we're talking roof. Do you have a roof preventative maintenance program going on in your facility? Because, and I keep throwing that word out, qualified. Um, that's pretty accurate, right, Monica? Having a qualified person do these programs.
Yeah, certainly. The, I don't want a plumber working on my HVAC unit and the other way around. You need somebody who's professional, well trained, and will also perform work in a safe manner, so as
Right.
to not put you, your building, your occupants at risk.
Yeah, and that's a great one. We've talked about it in other webinars, but you just said safe in a safe manner. Because while if you don't do your homework, the contractor may not be insured correctly to do that work or that preventative maintenance on your roof. Obviously, there's some very specific concerns, and OSHA is the other four-letter word, but they're pretty strict on what they require. And when you engage with someone to work on your property, uh, yes, they're supposed to have insurance, and yes, it's supposed to go against theirs. But the way of the world is, they're going to look at you as well as a facility owner. They're going to, if someone falls and gets hurt, you're going to get a hard look, and you might even get sued. So doing that due diligence to make sure not only are they qualified, but they're safe and fully insured, even bonded if needed. That's something to look for.
Certainly, and
That's,
ask for that stuff up front.
yeah,
Send your requirements to that contractor and say, send me a COI, and this is how I want to be listed as your additional insured. I know I can turn that around same day. I don't know if every contractor can do that, but if they're a qualified, legitimate contractor, they should be able to get that to you before coming to work on site.
okay. And that's been my experience too. Once if they're legit and they have that information, they can get it to you real quick. So there's where we're at in our audience right now. About half of us
Half
don't
and half.
know. Yep,
Yeah.
40 do and 7%. So that's not bad, not bad at all.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, and we kind of, you said it, and it's still awesome. 30% increase in life expectancy. So, man,
Yeah.
proper maintenance. That's awesome. So
Certainly.
that,
And the day will come. The day will come eventually where facility manager or owner has to invest capital into the roof, right? It's going to come.
yep,
But our goal is that with proper care and maintenance of that roof system is that you'll have lower cost options when it comes
right.
time to invest capital. Sometimes in some cases you can put a coating on, as we talked about silicone coatings, to
Hmm.
extend the life, or perhaps even a recover in some situations.
Okay. And so we've been talking about it. What does it look
Yep.
like?
Yeah. So um, first off, uh, a program might include a certified contractor. That's what we recommend, that will inspect or survey your roofs. Most manufacturers, actually, in their warranty documents, say that they require semi-annual surveys to
Okay.
maintain their warranty. Others use a term that just says regular. So that really leaves it open to interpretation as to what regular is.
Right.
But others, like Firestone, are a little bit more specific and say semi-annual roof surveys. So they should be surveyed on a regular basis, and then there should be documentation that comes with that survey, a report, which kind of lays the baseline, if you will. I call it day zero. This is day zero of your roof system. You might not have been doing any preventive maintenance to this point, but right now this is day zero. This is what your roof looks like. This is the condition. These are the deficiencies that were found, um, and repair costs, those types of things.
Okay.
If starting a data file, whether it's electronic or paper, keeping records on file, gathering as much information as you can about your roof. Do you have a warranty? Do you know who the manufacturer is? So keeping all of those records. When were repairs made? Made by who? All of that stuff.
Mhm. Right.
And then a wise person once told me that the key to roof maintenance is the key to the roof hatch, which means minimize the foot traffic on your roof because that
Right.
can cause issues. Punctures, unintended things can happen on the roof.
Right.
Also, for safety measures too, right?
Right. So the
Um,
youth doesn't need access to your roof to film a video. Just as an FYI. Not speaking
well,
from experience, but
with guidance, maybe
yeah.
I'll leave that to you.
Yeah.
But definitely you want to know when contractors are on your roof, when
Right.
they're maintaining equipment, installing equipment, you name it.
Okay.
Keep your roofs clean, unclog the drains, the gutters, the anything that's letting water flow off of your roof. Make sure those are picked up and cleaned, and pick up any debris that you might find, like fasteners, anything that could puncture the roof. Pick those things up.
Okay.
Keep your rooftop equipment in good repair. And then, there is also technology available out there that will do all of this for you and bring your roof system to your computer screen.
Right.
We are in the digital age, not everything has to involve paper. There are paperless options out there.
Right.
And I'm proud to say that Chamberlain has reached the digital age, and we actually do provide a program just like this where we bring the roof system and the conditions to the computer screen.
Right. And for those that are in the Chamberlain area, service area, they just need to contact you to get more information on that option, right? Your protective roof asset management.
Yes,
Did I say that right?
proactive roof asset management. Yeah, and that's the Texas area. That would be our service area footprint.
Okay. So everything is better in Texas, just so you all know. Sorry. No mean comments. I'm just saying that.
Get here as fast as you can.
Yeah. So, all right. So, and when um, so check it out. And then, so budgeting, because that's the next big
hmm
question. How much money are we looking at? So, what do we see?
Yeah. Do you have a slide for that? I think we had some numbers up on here.
I do. Let me actually see. I told you I'll
There we
have one
go.
text issue. There you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, like, any type of budgeting, it is economy of scale. So, like for instance, repairs or surveying of a roof, whether it's 12,000 square feet or 25,000 square feet, is probably going to cost about the same.
Hmm.
But the industry standard, according to the National Roofing Contractors Association, is 2 to 8 cents per square foot to cover surveys and small repairs. And looking at this, actually this morning, I was looking at one of our hospital clients, and I would multiply that by two. I would think that this is a semi-annual basis of
Okay.
repairs, of surveys and small repairs. Um, and then also the other industry standard from a budgeting standpoint when it comes to replacement of the roof, according to the NRCA, National Roofing Contractors Association, um, they tell us that when your yearly maintenance and repair costs are about 20 to 30% of what replacement would be of that roof system, then it's time to consider either replacement or some type of capital project to
Okay.
extend the life of that roof.
All right. So as we see, um, that's potentially a lot of money. I didn't put a poll up, but you need to ask yourself on your budgeting, which we talked about budgeting a couple webinars ago. When we're figuring out our line items and facility, it's probably a good idea to really specify roofs as a individual line item, if possible. Um, that way, you know how much you spent. Because when we're talking $2 to $8 a square, that can be a
hmm
lot depending on the size of your facility. Um, and Monica and I talked earlier. We have two different numbers there: per square foot or per square. Um, make sure you understand the difference. So square foot, people understand a square or roofing square is 100 square feet. That's just important to make sure when you're getting quotes from manufacturers, you know what their costs are and what they're actually quoting.
hmm
Um, so I'll just throw that out there for folks. So what other questions at this point do people have on maintenance? And kind of what we've been talking about, preventative maintenance programs and what we go. We did have one question, and I'm kind of answering when we talk about these programs, these digital programs, um, your particular service,
Mhm.
what kind of
Mhm.
information does your company collect and then are able to turn around and provide to a building owner?
Oh, certainly. So when we survey a roof, we take video of each roof area, so that the building owner can see what it looks like on the day of the survey. We take still photos of all of the equipment on the roof, and that becomes like an inventory of
Okay.
equipment on the roof system. And then while we're up there surveying the roof, um, if we see a deficiency on the roof, we mark it GPS style on the roof. Um, and then we tell you what the deficiency is. Like, is it a puncture? Is it a sealant that needs to be replaced? And we describe it. We take a picture of it, describe it, tell you what the corrective action is, and then provide a repair cost. So we do that for every roof area, and then it's all available digitally with username and password protection. It can also be downloaded into a PDF and shared, and budgets
Okay.
and spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So when we're looking at digital programs, like everything we've talked about, everything's going to the Internet of Things, and it's just
Hmm.
having all the information at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Real.
It's it's a web-based archive of everything you could possibly want on your roof, and it's relatively inexpensive. What I've seen for the most part, for surveys twice a year, they run about 2 to 5 cents a square foot per survey.
Okay. Um, Question on, let me make sure I understand this question. Okay. So what about, or is it a good idea or beneficial if to do thermographic scans, or coming in to try to find ponding water and stuff? Have you seen a lot of that? Are you familiar with it, and is it worth it to
Hmm.
try to hunt down roof issues?
Yeah, so it just depends on what's happening. If you have an ongoing issue that you just can't solve, or
Mhm.
if you're getting ready to invest capital in the roof and you want to know, is this roof a good candidate for an overlay, or we also call it a recover? Is it a good candidate for an overlay? Well, then you want to do a thermographic imaging, of that roof system so you can see if there's any areas that need to be addressed before that overlay is done or before that roof coating is done. So yeah, they definitely have their place. And
Okay.
we don't do thermographic imaging, but there are like building envelope consultants that do. And not
Okay.
only will they do thermographic imaging on the roof, but they'll do the entire building envelope if you have issues on the exterior.
Okay. So another question: asphalt roof with rocks, so that has some ponding areas.
Mhm.
Generally, is that an easy fix or a difficult, costly fix? And I think I know the answer, but I'll give it to you first.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna want to put a budget together for that, because you'll probably need to add a cricket or some way to get the water to shed from that area. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, I wish it, Larry. I wish it was an easy answer to say easy or difficult, but it does. It depends on the underlying issue that's causing the
Yeah.
ponding. If it is just a low-lying area, a cricket or some way building up the substrate to flatten it out or get it on the right slope like it should be, it can be a little costly, but not that bad if it's a small area.
Mhm.
If it's an area, if it's ponding or lower because of structure, then now you're getting a huge issue. So uh, that's when you'd probably get that roofing contractor out there and have them check different areas and make sure that the slope is correct. And then there may a lot of times when you see ponding in an asphalt roof, there was a puncture at some point, and water has gotten in, and it's simply, hopefully, only just moistened some of the substrate enough for it to compress. And so fix the leak, fix the substrate, and then it won't pond anymore. That fair?
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. Um, and some of you guys can type quick and a lot because I got to read the thing. So we'll just go ahead and read this. This comes from Chris. They're in their 10th year in a facility, and it's got a metal roof. Recently, leaks have been appearing and called 2 out companies. They said they need to replace 2 40-foot valleys and repair some crickets. The other company said just the valleys and give a 1-year warranty. 40-foot tall and scissor lift cannot reach it, and they don't have roof access. So any suggestions on which option to explore further when you've got that? Because that sounds like 2 very different responses. They both say the valley is the issue.
Yeah, like perhaps it's rusted out.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we had that happen here at our building. So, yeah, so access is an issue. So probably that's going to end up being the costliest part of the project is access, and then safety tie-offs and things like that.
Yeah.
On the roof. Those questions are kind of hard to answer without physically seeing and understand what's going on.
Yeah, I think based on this, and he gave kind of the price spread. It's a $7,800 difference in repair costs. I'm thinking a third or a fourth estimate inspection with either a company is warranted, or at this point, I'd almost call out a roof inspector and get someone
like
who's
consultant?
get a consultant, someone who's not gonna buy or not gonna sell you the work, but is simply gonna give the report and say, this is what I think. Because you've got, it concerns me hearing, well, they both say the valleys. So like you said, rusted out, or there's some material defect or something there potentially. But then one with crickets and that wide range. And this is a sheet metal roof. So that metal roof, it should do better. So Chris, I hope that kind of answers. I think you need another set of eyes out there, or I would recommend that. Get a third opinion, either through a consultant or another company, because that's just pretty widespread. So somebody's either missing something or trying to upsell you something, not knowing anything other than that and not seeing it. I think I'm safe in saying that, and I hope that answers that for you all right. So next question from Brad. Hailstorms. Gotta love hailstorms. 2-inch hail. How do you navigate? What do you recommend to compare all the companies that show up when there's a large storm? What would you recommend? What information should a company be able to provide to prove their bona fides?
Oh, yeah. So, we don't storm chase, but we also have a location in Dallas, and they're always hit by hail. I think we replaced the same roof twice within 2 years because of hailstorms. My knee-jerk reaction, and this is just my opinion, is to go local. Who are your local contractors that are going to be there for the long haul if 5 years down the road you have an issue, or if you want to, have some type of ongoing preventive maintenance with that contractor. Having somebody close by is helpful. Insurance documents, financials information. I mean, not a lot of contractors will give you like a full financial record or anything like that, but references, whether it's a bank reference or client references, and then call them, call those client references, and see how they did.
Right. So, and I just want to echo on that. It's the company is reputable, and they can prove it when they can provide all that documentation to you quickly, easily, and you can verify it. Calling references is definitely a big one. People don't do that enough. So every facility person out there listening, when you're comparing companies, get references and actually call them. We do that on CFMS for our vetted vendors. they have to provide references, and we call the references. And if I don't get an answer or a call back from a reference that's been provided to me, that's not good.
Yeah.
So we pursue those. And
I would also say, I would also add to that, you have additional resources. So if you're a member of, like in Texas, the church co-op, well, they've already vetted their vendors, or some type of professional building owners association. They have vetted, well, they've somewhat vetted their vendors, but if you have a roofing contractor that's a member of that association, then they're invested
right,
in their community, and in their people that they work with. In addition to that, there's other resources like National Roofing Contractors Association. You can contact manufacturers, and they can also give you names of contractors in your area that are certified to work on their or
right.
install their roof systems.
That's awesome. So hope that answers your question. Like I said, the main thing or the bottom line is make them prove it to you. They talk is cheap. Show me documents. Show me data. Give me something that I can go back and check on. Any other questions? We're hitting up. We're right at the 2:00, 2:01 time frame, at least in Central Time. So we're right at that hour. Is there any other final questions from anybody out there that we can answer before we sign off on this webinar? I'll wait just a moment, and I want to take this time and say, Monica, thank you so much for being part of
Thank
this
you.
webinar and sharing. Um, Guys, on the vetted vendors, you can find Chamberlain and the Texas Contractors, Texas Vendors, and what they do and provide. If you're looking for it, I encourage you to check that out. We do have some handouts. Either you can get through here, or we will make it available on CFMS. Plus recording this webinar so you can hear it again, because we're that awesome. And but we just thank you all so very much. And Monica, again, thank you so very much for sharing what Chamberlain has, and all your information and expertise on roofing.
Thank you, Nathan. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here. We thank you for your time, your participation, and I hope you have a blessed rest of the day and a wonderful weekend. Thank you all again, and we'll catch up with you soon. Have a great one. Bye.